When you read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they give different perspectives of who Jesus is, but they tell the same story. When you look at the book of Matthew, especially in light of Christmas, you see the birth of Jesus from Joseph's perspective. And then you look at Luke and you see the birth of Jesus from Mary's perspective. And then Mark actually passes right over the birth of Jesus and goes right into his public ministry, actually the ministry of John the Baptist and then Jesus from there. But then John really doesn't describe the birth of Jesus, but the origin of Jesus, the origin of who Jesus really is. In the beginning, it says in John 1:1, it says this: in the beginning was the Word. That is, before anything existed, before creation, before you and I, before the world, before anything was here, the Word already was. The Logos. That word Logos in Greek is very similar to the Hebrew word Memra in the Hebrew, which means the communication of God, to communicate God. You see, the one who communicated God to people is Jesus Christ, and he has always existed. Well, back in John 1:1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Now, interesting here in the way that he phrases that, he's saying the Word, that is the Son of God, was with God, that is the Father. They were in close connection with one another. We see the Trinity being displayed. It doesn't talk about the Holy Spirit here, but the Holy Spirit will be talked about later on in the Gospel of John. And so in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Very interesting way that John uses the Greek there. A subset proposition. The Word was God. The Word was God. Not the Word was a God. There's no a in Greek. You see, what John is saying here is that there is more to God than just the Word. But he's showing the identity of the Word. He's showing that the Word, yes, is God, but there's more to God than the Word, because there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Again, showing the identity of who Jesus is, the Word. He is truly and fully God. Well, John goes on to say this: he was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. That is, not only is Jesus the Logos, the Word, not only is he before creation, not only is he the eternal God, he is also the creator. He is the one who created everything. By his spoken word, everything came into existence. Well, one last verse I just want to look at here in John 1:14, and this is where we see the Christmas story. We've already seen that the Logos, that is the Son of God, that he was existent before creation, that he is God, that he is eternal, and that he is the creator. And now we see in verse 14, and the Word, that is the eternal God, and the Word became flesh, put on flesh, fully God and fully man. He went through all 9 months of pregnancy. He was a full human being while still being fully God. Don't lose the grasp of that. That God, the Son of God, became a human being while still being God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt or tabernacled among us. And we have seen his glory. Glory is of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. You see, Jesus, he just didn't come from heaven down and become a man and just stay to himself. But he came and he dwelt with mankind. He tabernacled with mankind. He was with people. I mean, for even those 3 years of ministry, he dwelt among people. And that is what Christmas is truly and fully about. The eternal God became fully man so he can go on the cross for you. And he rose again the third day. And so this week, especially next Monday, as you celebrate Christmas, remember the greatest gift of all is what the true Christmas story is about. That the Son of God became a man for you. What an indescribable gift, as the Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians. Thank you for joining me.